Thank you for joining me for this intuitive reading on the year 2023. It seems incredible to think that we're now knocking on the door of 2023, but of course we are. So what I'm going to talk about are a couple of specific impressions and also my impressions concerning the general pattern or vibe of the year. And as always, the future is always the potential future until something happens. To give you an idea of the sort of things that I focus on, or rather work with or receive with this, in 2014, I was aware of an aeroplane that its journey would be changed. And it wouldn't be due to terrorism, it wouldn't be due to malfunction. I didn't know what it was going to be due to. But of course, the aircraft carrying Edward Snowden was indeed diverted. And it had to be something pretty important, because the things that I focus on in these readings are always things that will be, in the international news. So they've got to be quite big. But to come back to 2023, the specific impressions I had all concerned shipping, or in one instance, shipping and currency markets, not in the western part of the world. I felt that this was the major impression I had was of cargo ships, various kinds of cargo, waiting out in the ocean for the permission or the say-so to travel to their intended ports, which of course they had just expected to be able to progress to and enter, unload their cargoes, and then go on their merry way. But for some reason they had to wait, they were held back. And whilst this was going on, I was aware of currencies in several countries, and I felt that these were the countries that these vessels would have been delivering to. They were going crazy, and I can only assume that there was some interaction between the reason why the vessels had to wait out in the ocean and what was going on within the currency markets in these countries. I've tried to get a geographical location, and I don't feel that this is anything really to do with Western Europe or the West at all. I was aware of hot climates. I was aware of warm waters where this was happening, where those ships were delivering to, not necessarily where they originally set off on their voyages from, but where they were delivering to. And I felt that this was something that would blow up very quickly. Thus, the vessels were in transit when the problem arose. And then, there would be something of a holding pattern, and some of them wouldn't be able to deliver at all. Some of them would be delayed. Some of them would go back to their ports of origin. And I felt that one or two might even dump their cargoes. But the feeling then was that it would start to settle down, including the currency situation, but it wouldn't then be as it was before. And I was drawn over towards Asia. I was also conscious of South America. So this is obviously quite a wide area that I'm talking about. And I wish I could be more precise than that, but I can't at the moment. And the other situation in relation to shipping in the news was of a large ferry or a very small cruise ship that got into difficulties. It seemed to be taking on water, and there was a rescue that was pretty incredible in the circumstances. And it was that incredible rescue that featured in the news, more so than anything else. So, if such accidents have to happen, then it was a happy outcome. of course, we would all prefer that ships never got into difficulties. And then there was another incident that I had an impression of that wasn't related to the cargo vessels. And I don't know what kind of vessel this was. I didn't feel really that it was a cargo vessel or a ferry. I don't know what kind of ship it was. It could be a cruise ship, of course, but it wasn't allowed into port. And the way that the judicial system or rules were interpreted that prevented it coming into port was very controversial. And it was that controversy that made it into widespread news. So these are the shipping incidents that I had impressions of. The other is concerning the general pattern of the year. And whereas 2022 we've had to deal with some things, of course, that had to be dealt with in the immediate situation, like the fuel crisis, the war in Ukraine, some sort of reaction had to take place. But in general, we seem to have more things around us in many countries that haven't had a satisfactory solution, but we know they're there hovering, and it's felt a little bit like more and more situations are wearing bandages or band-aids, and they're battling on, but they're not really functioning well. But I really feel 2023, particularly from February, March, it's got a much more sort of get up and go, get up and deal with it, vibrant kind of vibe. And it's, whereas 2022 has been what many people describe as a fast year, in that with all the different things that have come up, it seemed to go very quickly, and we've looked back at it and said, well, how can all of that happen in a year? And of course it has. I feel that equally much will be happening in 2023, but it feels more proactive, more that it's having to be looked at, dealt with, acknowledged what we need to do. And of course, we won't always agree about that, but it's coming up for discussion. It's coming up in the melting pot. It's coming up to the surface. All of this of what are our hopes? How do we want things to unfold? What are the possibilities here? All of these questions rising more was what I felt, giving it a more vibrant feel. I appreciate that people that do not like change are not going to really like 2023 much more than they liked 2022. But for those that want to see positive movement forward, that want to see a little bit more about where they're going, where we are heading collectively, I feel 2023 is a better year for that, although I don't feel it is smoother than 2022. I feel that there's probably going to be as many uprisings, as many natural disasters or severely disruptive weather events. I don't see that reducing. I feel that it's likely to increase a little bit more. I also feel that we're still going to get these shocks of, oh, what's going on over there? What's happening in that country? What's happening in Taiwan? What's happening in China? All of these things of little like bubbles coming to the surface. But the important thing to realize is that not everything would manifest in a major situation just because it seems as though it could. It's important to realize that, because not everything that comes up to the boil is going to be a case of the pot boiling over. Sometimes it will be, sometimes it won't be. So the capacity to go with the flow is an important, in a way, ability or an important way of looking at things to hold close to us in 2023, as well as keeping an eye on the compass and how we would like that compass to be set, because these are changing times. That's one reason why it's as it is. but looking forwards to the year, it feels like a year with more momentum, more positive movement, more get up and go, more let's attack it and get something done. More of that about it than, you know, what can we do just to keep going. It's about thinking, it's a thinking forwards year, I want to say. Thinking forwards, working on ideas, and looking at life perhaps as though we're surfers waiting out in the ocean for a wave. And we know that some waves are better than others. And we grab the best board and we take the best wave that we can. And when we get onto that board, when we stand up, we never know whether that wave is going to carry us all the way to the beach or not. But it's exhilarating and it's a powerful ride. And so long as we feel that we've chosen the best board and the best wave that we can, and if we have rather a limited choice of surfboards, well then we can still wonder how far we can go with what we have at our disposal, and whether the board that we get, that we are able to grab, is actually going to suit the wave that comes along a little bit better than maybe the board that we would have chosen. But of course, we always keep an eye on what we want to choose and do the best we can, and what we hope for those who are our brothers and sisters, and how we can collectively work towards progress that feels good for the majority. And these are the thoughts that I would like to leave you with. Thank you for joining me. And I wish you a very happy and fulfilling and exciting 2023.